Welcome back to the Venom workshop. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be changing the rear brake assembly on this Thunder. And so for this Thunder, it's 125cc and it's just a nice bike to ride. So what we're going to have to do though, to remove the brake assembly on this bike, we're also going to have to remove the rear tire. It's just the way the brakes are set up. It's not a big deal. But you will need something to put your bike up on, a box or a crate or something. And it's quite high. It's probably 13 to 15 feet off the floor, or sorry, inches off the floor. So you're gonna need something quite high, something a little higher than a milk crate, just to get the rear tire up off the ground. So yeah, you'll need something like that. And like I said, the bike is high. It is a very nice bike. It is, it's not small by any means for a 125. It's very high. It gives a good, comfortable ride. I'm 6 foot, and it's a perfect ride height for me. I don't have to squat. I'm not on my tippy toes. I don't have my knees in my chest. It's just a nice ride height. So anyway, so we're gonna get started with the brakes. Now the brakes on this are on this side. I'm going to switch the bike around so it's nice and in the light there. But we're going to be removing our master cylinder. We're going to be removing our foot pedal and the caliper here in the back. Now when we remove the caliper, the way it hooks on, the caliper actually joins through here on the axle. So we have to take this rear tire off first. So we're going to get the rear tire off, and then we'll get the brake system off, and we'll take it all the way up to here, and then I'll show you how to put it all back together. You shouldn't have to take off any brake lines, so you don't have to release any pressure off of these. You don't have to worry about that, because we're going to be taking the master cylinder off and the whole rear brake assembly. It's going to stay intact. So the same way as if we send it to you, when we send it to you, this is intact and it is pressurized. So when you go ahead and put it back on, you don't have to remove these lines. I really tell you, I don't want you to remove those lines, because it'll then you'd have to restart and bleed the whole system. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get my tools that I need, and I'm going to get this bike turned around, and let's get it fixed up here to get the rear brakes taken off. So like I said, I will be back in one moment. Alrighty, so we've got our bike up in place here, and now what we're going to do is we're just going to come down to our rear wheel, and then we're going to take off the two nuts, the axle and the nut. So the nut is actually a 19, and the bolts or the axle on this side is a 17. Certainly put that on tight. Now remember, when you're putting your axle back on, you want to remember to put these chain adjusters back on too. And they're on both sides. Your chain should be already set up right now that it's tight, and it should be actually fairly tight, and you want it fairly tight on purpose. When you first get your bike, you're going to stretch your chain a bit, and then you want maybe half an inch of play in it. After you've stretched it out, you can retighten it, and about a half inch is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to pull my axle out. And then we can drop our tire down, pull our chain off. And you want to be careful with your spacers. You're going to have two spacers. You're going to have a short spacer on this side, which is probably joined right onto the brake caliper. Yeah, it is. And then you have another spacer on this side, which is a longer one. It's about 1.5 inches. And it goes in on the inside, and then you have another one here on the inside of there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the nut on for a sec, just so I can get the axle to move. Then I'll start to pull it out. Now if I take the pressure off the wheel, there you go, you'll see the two spacers. So the longer of the two spacers goes on the left side, and the shorter of the two spacers goes on the right side. So we'll put those there and there. Now, all of that's off. We can go ahead and slip our brake off too. Just move your line out of the way. Oh, sorry. I have to remove the tire first. Now to remove the tire, just roll it up forward. Let the chain slide off of it, and then just roll the tire back out of the way. And then your brake is off too. Now the way your brake goes on is this here. There's a pin on the inside of the swing arm, and you just put it on the brake like that when you put the brake back on. But we're going to be removing everything for the brakes. But I do just want to clip it in this line here thing, so it's just sitting up and it's not hanging down. Then we're going to move over to the brake assembly itself right here, because it's got to all come off. Now it's going to be pretty easy to take off. We're only going to be taking off this Allen bolt right here and these two Allen bolts right here. This is a number 5. Is that a number 5? I'm pretty sure that's probably a 6. But I'm going to go ahead and get my Allen keys. Yeah, so that is a 6. You can go ahead and loosen it off. You don't have to take it right out. Now you're also going to need a 10mm wrench, and that's for just taking off the master cylinder itself. So these are number 5s, but once you loosen them, right on the back of them, there's a nut that holds it onto the frame. So you just have to put your wrench back there, and then you go ahead and take this off. Just put your nut back on it when you're done. Now we're gonna take our top one off. Something else, this little protective plate here you see. I'm going to show you that in a sec. As we get it off. So this little protective plate right here, this is a habit of snapping and breaking. It's not very important, and it doesn't really protect much because it's a piece of plastic, right? So it's not doing a huge favor to you in any way, but it does look aesthetically nice. But other than that, that's all it's for. It's not any sort of, it's not going to do any really big protection or anything. It's just a piece of plastic. So it's just aesthetic. So if yours breaks off or whatever, it's not a huge issue. You don't have nothing to worry about. Your brakes are still going to work fine. All that's still going to work fine. Okay, so now your assembly is all off here. So all you have to do is finish taking your bolt out here, the number 6. Just like that. And then it just slips off. Then you can pull your whole line out of your holder. Just like that. Remove the little spring from the tab right here, and that's it. And now, obviously there's nothing wrong with this brake assembly, so I'm not going to really be changing it. I'm just going to be putting it back on. So what you would do is, the first thing you would do is put your spring back on the arm here. You can go ahead and connect your spring there then, and then just slip it on. Now you might have to rotate this to where it needs to be, but that's not a big deal. We can rotate that after, but right now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our bolt back in. And you don't have to put it in all the way tight as long as it's up there. And we're going to spin our master cylinder around. And we can go ahead and put our hose back in place just to hold the caliper up like last time. Then we can put our bolts back in. Oh, I want to put our protective cover back in place. And just go ahead and start the nut. You don't have to tighten it. Just go ahead and get it started so it stays in place. Then we can put our bottom one in. I'm actually going to do, I'm going to remove this one. And I'm going to go down and put this one in first. There we go. And I'll slide that one in. And then I put my two nuts on. There we go. Ooh. Just want to make sure all that's right where it's supposed to be. I think that's supposed to be that way a bit. Yeah, perfect. Ooh. Now, if you find that you're not getting enough brake pedal, you can always do this and you'll get more brakes, you know what I mean? I don't want to do that just yet because I don't have a rotor in between my brake pads. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go ahead and tighten off your master cylinder. And you want it tight, not so tight that it's breaking anything, just tight. Okay, so now all this is back on, but again, I'm not going to set this up until I've put my caliper back on. And if you notice, I went and did something really dumb. I pushed down on the brake pedal and it made my rotor squeeze, or my caliper squeeze here in the back. Now I'm going to pry them brake pads apart so I can put them over my rotor. Okay, so we're back here at the back again. I'm going to just spread my brake pads apart a bit. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get my tire ready to go on. All you have to do, like I said, roll your tire in. While you're rolling your tire in, you want to line up your brake caliper with your rotor. And I'll show you why in a sec. Because when I lift up on this, I want to be able to put my chain on. And I want to be able to slip up into that. I want to slip the caliper up with the rotor at the same time without it having to slip through. There we go. There we go. chain on. And I also am in between my my rotor, or my pads here with the rotor. But now I want to make sure that's lined up on the pin. It's, of course not, I don't think. No, that's okay. There we go. Now line it up. All right, so now our big spacer, remember, goes on. But remember when we put our axle on, that chain tensioner has to be on first, right there. So we're gonna slip our axle in. Gotta put our bushing on our axle. Then I can start the axle through the tire. I want to lift that up so I can get my copper in the right place. I'll have to get in there with the bushing. Just like that, and I can start shoving the axle through. And again, when you're putting this in, you got to make sure that chain tensioner over there looks just like this. Just like that. Now when I tighten that up, yeah, look at that. See, my chain is perfect right there. So now all I have to do is tighten up my my rear axle. 19 and 17. And this is something you want on fairly tight. It is an axle, so you don't want to have it flying off you. So my rear tire is running perfect. Put my line there. Now I can go up to my brake pedal and pump it down. So I wanted to go at least there, and now it's going to start hitting the brake right about there. So now I can set my adjuster to right there. So my brake pedal is basically right there, and then I can tighten it up. Make sure this is tight. There we go. And there we go. And that right there is how you change your rear brake assembly. And if you find that your brakes are too tight or whatever, once you've done this, you can always loosen it off. Like I said, this is just a setting, and it's the same as anything else. So there you go. So again, that's how you change the rear brake assembly on the 125 Thunder.